Hello guys, I'm Christopher from China, Germany. Today here with a new phone from Kingzone, and it's the Kingzone N3, the very first LTE supported phone made by Kingzone. You guys probably know Kingzone from the Kingzone K1, which actually was quite a boomer for the price and the build quality it provided. And well, let's see if the Kingzone N3 is just as good as the Kingzone K1. So here right in front of me you see the Kingzone N3 packaging, and as you can see this is quite similar to the box the Kingzone K1 came in. They basically just changed the printing on the box and you can still swipe the insides out to the right. So let's see what comes with the phone. Well, of course, the phone itself. We also get a replacement screen protector, we get a small warranty card, a quick start guide, headphones, an OTG cable, and micro USB cable, a wall charger, and I also got another thing, and it's the flip case for the phone, which doesn't come with every order, but you can order this with your phone. So it's better protected. As you can see, this is made from synthetic leather, also on the rear, and gets clipped on the phone instead of the standard back cover, and also has an NFC antenna inside so you don't lose the NFC support while using this flip cover. And it also supports this smart view feature, so that's pretty nice. So let's move on to the phone. So this is the Kingzone N3, it's the black version, and as you can see, Kingzone went for a very own design, very unique design again, just like with the Kingzone K1, but this time they didn't use metal, though someone at Kingzone told me that they will use metal in the future for this phone. Right now it's made from plastic, but let me tell you, this is nothing bad at all. It still feels very good and very solid. So let's have a look at the design elements. As you can see here, the frame of the phone is going around the screen and the panel is embedded inside this frame, and the upper part of the frame actually houses the phone call speaker and the microphone here on the bottom, and the screen panel is actually made from Gorilla Glass 3, so it's very scratch proof and should even survive crashes. Here on the top you see a front camera, sensors, a status LED which isn't visible here, and the little imprint 4G LTE, which means that this phone does support LTE. And let me tell you right now, it also does support LTE at 800 MHz, which most phones actually don't support from China. Here on the bottom you see that we have red touch buttons symbolized by small dots. Well, that's something different than most phones who just have white icons here, and we actually know those red buttons from the black version of the Kingzone K1 already, which looked basically the same. So let's have a look at the sides, and here you can see a volume rocker on the left. The lower and upper sides are covered by a panel which actually has a carbon fiber look to it. This does look pretty neat in my opinion. I like that design element a lot. On the right side you see the on-off switch, and the top panel also houses a 3.5mm headphone jack and a micro USB port with OTG support. So let's switch over to the rear already, and here you can see that this is a matte rear cover and it actually feels very, very good. First of all, it's laying great in my hands. It feels amazing thanks to these rounded edges of the phone, and also the material used here feels very soft and kind of, well, a little bit like rubber, which adds a fair amount of grip, so you actually don't have to worry about the phone slipping out of your hand, so that's pretty good. Other stuff, you see small openings, probably for a camera microphone. You see the 13 megapixel rear camera, a small LED flash, a fingerprint reader, and of course the Kingzone logo and meter speaker opening. The rear can be pulled off easily, as you can see here. And then you right away see the NFC antenna, which is glued inside of here, just like within the flip case. And now you can have a look at the large battery, which is definitely large, but I doubt it's 2800 milliamps like it's printed on there, because it's just not thick enough. The Kingzone K1 battery was larger than this battery, and only was specified with 2400 milliamps or something. So, well, something's going on here and it's not right. Else you see the meter speaker and the slots for a normal SIM card, a micro SIM card and a micro SD card, and you can see the contacts for the NFC antenna. As for the build quality, Kingzone did a great job here. You really don't notice the plastic at all. The weight is around 140 grams, which is okay. It's light, but still doesn't feel cheap, so it's not too light. And the phone feels very solid, even though it's only plastic being used here. You can't bend it. Nothing is squeaking if I press on here. That's a really good build quality, and I like that. Next topic is the screen, and Kingzone is using a 5-inch panel here, which features a resolution of 720p, which actually is the maximum the processor inside of there can support. And while the quality is fairly okay, the colors are a little on the warm side, but still realistic. But those of you who like cold colors more probably won't like the screen, but I like it. I'm okay with cold and warm colors, so that's nothing disturbing for me. As for the sharpness of the picture, I think it's okay. You can see the pixels a little bit more than with other 5-inch 720p panels. That's always dependent on the manufacturer of the panel. I've noticed that a lot, that different manufacturers have different looks in terms of the pixels to them. But you still have to have very good eyes and have to come close to the screen to see any pixels at all. So let's just focus on that so you can see it for yourself. Here you can see it. You see the pixels a little bit, but nothing to worry about. The viewing angles are very good, as this is an IPS LGS panel, and as you can see see everything from the sides. There's no change in colors or something. What I don't like so much about the screen is that the brightness isn't that high. It's a little bit lower than with other phones, or with some other phones I experienced so far. So when on a hot summer day, on a sunny summer day, if you are outside and the sun is shining on the screen, you might have some trouble seeing your stuff or what's going on. What I also don't like about the screen is that it somehow breaks the finger a little bit. Means it doesn't glide so well on the panel. I've experienced much better panels here already. So Kingzone probably should have applied some film on it or something, so the finger would slide better on it. But it's nothing that would prevent you from using the phone or something. It's just something I personally don't like so much. Next, let's talk about hardware, software and performance of this phone. And the Kingzone N3 comes with the MT6582 SoC along with an additional modem chip to support LTE. It features 1 GB of RAM, 16 GB of internal memory, and well, the 1 GB of RAM, let's say that it's a little bit outdated. Now the MT6582 is a little bit outdated as well, but it could still perform quite well if there would be 2 GB of RAM, but 1 GB, well, that's just not enough anymore, especially in the price range of the Kingzone N3. They really should have built in 2 GB of memory in here. The operating system used on this phone is Android 4.4.2 KitKat. And they actually applied their own launcher to it, but otherwise it still does look like a stock Android, so there hasn't been changed that much. What I did notice though is that the software on here is really buggy. There are a few nice features which work pretty well. The most important one of them is of course the fingerprint sensor. You can see that it's working just fine, and I also can use the fingerprint sensor to scroll through the menus here on the rear. or to scroll through web pages. That's working fine, but otherwise the operating system often crashes, which I don't really like. And I also noticed that during 3D games the phone crashes as well, resulting in a black screen, and then the only way out is removing the battery, putting it back in and do a reboot. That's something I don't really like. What's causing this? Probably a buggy graphics driver or something, I don't know, but Kingzone really has to fix that. And well, the phone at its current software state isn't really usable for me, and that's why you won't see a performance demo now as well, because due to the bugs the performance is limited as well. You can see that here it only gets 7,055 points in a Antutu version 5.3, which usually gets up to 19,000 points on other MT6582 phones. So that's a little bit strange, and Kingzone really needs to look after that. One of the features that sets the Kingzone N3 apart from its competitors is that they actually built in a Yamaha audio processor inside this phone, which is something I personally haven't seen so far in phones of this price range. Now, we all know that dedicated audio processors provide a significant improvement in audio quality. And it really does, at least for the 3.5mm headphone jack up here. If you plug in a good pair of headphones, you can really enjoy an amazing audio quality. But I noticed that the internal media speaker unfortunately can't keep up with the dedicated audio processor, because it's just usual cheap Chinese phone speaker we know. It's fairly loud, but it does overdrive and distort very quick when pulling the volume up to 100%, and well, it also doesn't have lots of bass playback. So let me just give you a little demo of this one. Now we need to talk about reception quality, as this is very important for a phone, and let me tell you that for 2G, 3G and 4G networks there aren't any issues at all, even though the signal strength isn't quite as high as with some high-end phones, but it still is okay, so it's somewhere in between the mid-range and high-end level. For 4G I have noticed that the signal strength overall is pretty high. I tested it in Munich here in Germany, and well, I was able to connect to the 4G network without any issues and was able to browse the internet blazingly fast. For Wi-Fi, it's basically the same. It's not perfect, but it's okay. The router is next to me right now, just a wall is in between. Most high-end phones get full signal strength here, this one only 3 bars, but that's still okay and nothing that would give you any issues during daily use. NFC was tested as well, and this one performs good as well. I won't show you that right now. Last one is of course GPS performance, and we all know that the old MediaTek chipsets didn't provide such a good performance as the new ones do, but the antenna in here is pretty good, so it still gets a fix within 10 seconds with an accuracy of 3 meters at a fix for 9 satellites, and the signal strength is pretty good, mostly green bars. That's nothing to complain about actually. And also when going inside a house, it still is possible to get a fix with 6 meters of accuracy and 8 satellites found. So that's very nice, and the only annoying bug that's still present here, as with all the other old MediaTek chipsets, is the bug in tracking apps, which gives you strange values, and of course the jumping waypoints. So that's something you just have to live with. The Kingzone N3 is offering you a 13 megapixel rear camera and an 8 megapixel front camera, but let me tell you, those aren't really anything good. I've tested this camera quite a lot and compared it with other phones, and the Kingzone performed the worst compared with the 2G Digi 850 Hitman and the Lenovo Vibe X2. So actually the pictures look kind of washed out, there aren't much colors in there, the pictures are blurred and there's a lot of noise inside the images, so it's basically just an emergency camera, but nothing you would love to take your pictures with. But let me tell you, the camera quality of a phone is really dependent on the software a lot. The OnePlus One was a perfect example for that. Compare the OnePlus One and the Oppo Find 7 based on hardware specs would make you think they perform the same because they have the same camera sensors inside. But actually the OnePlus One images looked a lot worse than the Oppo Find 7 ones. So, well, it's up to the software a lot, and well, Kingzone has been notified about the issues here with the camera and they are looking into that, so probably a future update of the firmware will fix the camera and provide you with a better image quality. The last topic left to talk about is the battery. I told you already that Kingzone claims it to be a 2800 milliamps cell. While I am not exactly sure about that because it just is too small. Anyone who ever has seen a large capacity cell knows that it has to be larger or at least thicker than the cell inside of here. And well, it probably is somewhere at the level of 2300 milliamps. The more important point about a phone's battery isn't its capacity, but of course the battery life of the overall phone, because it also depends not only on the capacity but also on phone software optimizations, hardware optimizations and so on. And it seems like Kingzone did a really good job with this, as well, I am a power user, but the phone survives me for full 2 days, so I don't need to plug it in to a wall charger for full 2 days. I just can use it, and I think that's a pretty good performance, which I previously only know from Snapdragon phones with battery capacities of 3000 milliamps and above, so that's pretty good actually, and the battery performs quite well inside of there. Charging it unfortunately takes a while sometimes, and depending on which charger you use, it takes between 2 to 3.5 hours, so that's quite a lot, and you need to calculate this inside your timing. Now we already reached the end of the Kingzone N3 review, so what's left to say? Well, my conclusion about this phone is don't buy it yet. I really say yet, because this handset definitely has a lot of potential, but it can't fully use this potential right now because the software is too buggy and the camera isn't that good. Basically, the only pro about this is the fairly good reception quality, LTE support, NFC support, and of course the long battery life, but that's it already. The software isn't really usable right now, in my opinion, because of all the bugs inside of there. But as soon as Kingzone is fixing all this stuff, this would be a very good phone, especially if the price is dropping within time. Right now it's around 135 euros, which is a little much for the hardware provided, yes, at the moment, but as soon as the price goes down, it will be a very good phone for the price, I think. And well, just follow the forums and check what people are saying. As soon as the bugs have been fixed, there is no reason why I shouldn't recommend to buy this phone. Just right now, it's nothing I would buy. So that's for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful for you. If it did, please leave a thumbs up or a comment. If you like what we are doing at Guess China, make sure to follow us here on YouTube or at Facebook, Twitter and Google+. So thanks for watching. Over and out.